Drakkar Klose came back after over 2 years away here recently in 2022 and beat the brakes off Brandon Jenkins. He's going to be taking on gifted Rafa Garcia, looking to spoil a 2-fight win streak from the fighter out of Mexico. And if you do look at it for Rafa Garcia, he's taking this fight on just 16 days notice, replacing Diego Ferreira. So when it does come down to this one, it is an interesting fight. When you look at it for Garcia, he's a part of the champ camp. He's up there in Colorado. He's at Ruka Sport as well in California. He trains with Cub Swanson as a primary training partner, but when he's at the champ camp, it's with Justin Gaethje, it's with Archie Colgan, it's with Kamaru Usman. So he is in fight-ready shape, and I know I haven't mentioned fight-ready as a gym that Drakkar Klose has spent time at, but also at the MMA Lab. And Matt, I think a lot of the focus of this video has to be spent on Drakkar Klose because in the UFC, he's only lost to pretty damn good fighters, and he's also beaten some fighters, and he has been ranked in the past as well. And if you do look at, or at least fought ranked competition in the past, I should say, obviously that loss to Beneil Dariush is the glaring one. That was a wicked contest.
It was, and what I really like about Drakkar Klose is he's a steady fighter for the most part. He never fights like he's not Drakkar Klose, and that's a really important attribute to have in this lightweight division specifically, because everybody's so good at everything. If you start to fight unlike your natural tendencies would suggest that you should, that's when you start to run into problems. But for Drakkar Klose, if he was ever going to make a big change to his game, it was probably going to be a long layoff after his biggest marquee loss. And guess what? He came back and looked awesome his last time out against Brandon Jenkins. And I know Jenkins isn't the best guy to ever come over to the UFC, but that was a good fight for Drakkar Klose. I often go at the UFC for not giving guys sort of warm-up fights, but that felt like a great warm-up fight for Drakkar Klose because we all knew how talented he was before that loss. We all saw the promise that he had in the Beneil Dariush fight, because like you said, that was a wild back-and-forth fight before Beneil was able to get that knockout win in the second round. But Drakkar Klose came back and looked like the exact same fighter he was before the injuries, and that was really nice to see, because I know I was very concerned about, okay, what version of Klose are we going to get in this matchup? But I do feel like he's at least back on a similar path to what he was on before those injuries, and that's the neat thing about Drakkar Klose. He was kind of the 16th best fighter in the division, if you will. If you beat him, you're probably a ranked fighter, or you're about to be a ranked fighter, and if you lose to him, you can still be a really good unranked fighter, but still, you sort of know your place with Drakkar Klose in the division. I still think that there's a world where he could get ranked. I do think that highly of him. The only issue I've always had with Drakkar Klose is he's someone who is steady, but the steadiness can almost be a detriment to him sometimes. I go back to that David Tamor fight where he's almost trying to egg Tamor on because he just can't get to him. His feet aren't necessarily as fast as his hands are, and he can find himself behind some fighters who have very dynamic footwork on the feet, and that's something that Drakkar Klose I think is always going to run into just by way of his style. He has very good boxing though, and he's someone who makes use of his shots when he does throw them, and that's what I really like out of Drakkar Klose, and that's why I think this is another really interesting fight, because okay, you beat Brandon Jenkins, let's say he's sort of at the lower end of what Drakkar Klose is capable of.
Minus 630 favorite was close in that match.
Exactly. And now Rafa Garcia, a much more dangerous fighter, a guy who himself is trying to get into the rankings. I think this is perfect matchmaking. Like, I'm surprised the UFC has taken this good care of Drakkar Klose, with him coming back off that loss to Beneil Dariush, because they really have been building him up in a sound way ever since that matchup.
And if you look at it for Drakkar Klose, his base is wrestling. I mean, offensively, defensively, it's definitely a big part of his game. Maybe not so much on the numbers as a Rafa Garcia, but he was a state champ at South Haven High, so we'll give him that. But when I do look at it, I mean, for Klose, when he throws leg kicks, he makes them count. Does he check his leg kicks all that often?
Not at all, and that's the weird thing. Like, there's some fighters who are really good grapplers. Like, I talked about Nikita Krylov last week, and you got a big eye roll. Like, Nikita Krylov is the most frustrating grappler in the world, because in some positions, he looks dominant. In other positions, he looks like a fish out of water, and it's like Drakkar Klose with his leg kicks. Great offensively, but poor defensively.
So when I do look at it, we talked a lot about Drakkar Klose. For gifted Rafa Garcia, he did make it to the top of the heap over with Combate. I sung his praises when he came in on really short notice, and he took on, and I want to make sure I get it right, 4 days notice to take on Nasrat Haqparast. Couldn't close the distance, got pieced up at range from the boxing. So maybe you like that out of Haqparast, you like that out of Drakkar Klose. That's why you're going with Drakkar Klose. I can't fault you for that one. But if you do look at it, Rafa Garcia was brought up the right way with Combate. So Campbell McLaren's very polarizing. But with Rafa Garcia, I love what happened. And obviously with Garcia, he always had that great base around him with the training partners and so on and so forth. But when I talk about him having the good lineage, he beat Efrain Escudero. He beat Humberto Bandenay by decision. You like that. You like the steadiness of Garcia on the feet. when he fought Chris Grutzmacher, I thought he 10-8'd him in the first round, and then he kind of ran out of sauce in the second round and the third round, and he kind of went for those Adolfo Vieira panic takedowns, and he wasn't really able to get as many as
I call those a Mac 1 Amir Khani, where I come from.
Round 2, round 3, so that was his detriment in that fight, and obviously he did lose against Haqparast, but his last 2 wins, one over Natan Levy, where he's very steady, worked the takedowns, one against Jesse Ronson, where he went for the takedowns. And Ronson was kind of in a similar bout to Drakkar Klose, where it was a long layoff. Now, Ronson didn't have the benefit of fighting a Brandon Jenkins. He got to fight Rafa Garcia. Rafa went takedown, 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 submission, which was a surprise to many. I thought if he was going to beat him, it was with his boxing. But you like the steadiness out of both these guys on the feet. I think they're going to bring a fun fight. This is like our third fight of the night, Matt. So when it does come down to it, we look at the odds to try and tell a bit of a story. Close open to minus 185 favorite. Minus 228 right now for Rafa Garcia. Open to plus 160, plus 184. We have a look at the Tapology votes. Surprise to us, they are to you. People love this segment of the show. Honest to God, I don't even know where to put it. I'm going to say Close is a favorite. Close is a fan favorite. I'm going to say over under 67.5% close, and I feel like it's going to be over.
I was going to set it at 65 if you didn't know. I think it will be over.
Think it's going to be over? Yeah, it's over. 1,000 votes on the nose, 87% close, 81% by decision, 12% by knockout. For the 13%, Garcia, 58% by decision, and some change in a finish. So the fans have close, the odds have close. Do you have close?
I do. Here's the thing. Drakkar Klose does struggle if you can evade him when he is being the leader of the dance. If he's walking forward, he sometimes can have a limited success, I guess. I don't know why my brain just short-circuited thinking of that word, but for Drakkar Klose, it's weird. He's almost better when his opponent comes towards him and not vice versa. Well, this opponent was handmade to come at him with boxing combinations, and this is my issue. I think Rafa Garcia is going to eat a lot of damage on his way in. He's going to have to get close to really implement his own grappling style of game. I think Garcia can have some success in the striking, but at a certain point, again, the steadiness of Klose with his jab, with his right hands, it's just a little bit more technical on the feet, and that's where I think he can have a little bit more success. He's going to find the minor details, almost like a small market baseball team, you know? You can't beat them with the outright talent, so we have to beat them in sort of the niche areas of the game. I think Drakkar Klose has a lot more technical ability in his game, and that's why I like him in this matchup.
Do you think they're going to fly Drakkar Klose and coach from Arizona to Texas like the A's tried to do with Paul Blackburn?
If you turn down $400 million from a team, they also won't charter you a private flight, so what do I know?
It's wild stuff, but when I do look at this matchup, you look at it for Klose, he was originally supposed to take on Diego Ferreira, who's going to try and drive 8 hours to train in Dallas.
Good fighter, though.
But he's going to go for a lot of takedowns. You're going to get ready for that. For Garcia, the threat of the takedowns there, I think he's really accentuating his boxing in this one. But like you said, he's going to walk into combinations. This feels like a trap card fight like we just saw in the last card, Mason Jones, Ludwig Klein. So it does feel weird for me. I'm actually going with the underdog, Rafa Garcia, in this one. I think he's going to mix it up quite a bit. I do like Drakkar Klose as a fighter. You look at it in terms of striking output. You look at it in terms of accuracy and the pop at the end of the shots. Obviously, Klose able to drop Brandon Jenkins round 1, round 2.
He also almost knocked out Beneil Dariush in the second round of their fight. Beneil's way better than Rafa Garcia.
100%. It was a while ago, though. So for me, I do like Garcia with the ability to mix it up. I like the strength of schedule for him. I like the fact that he's been the more active participant in the sport. And I think the short notice bout's going to help him out. I like that Justin Houghton connection at pound for pound fitness at elevation. So we're split on the pick. I'm going to go with gifted Rafa Garcia. You're going with Drakkar Klose to build it back up.
I look like a Drakkar Klose, almost like a Clay Thompson next season. We saw what he looked like in his first time back against a guy who he probably should have beaten. He looked really good. I think he's going to look even better his second time out because he has the confidence of that first performance off of the long layoff under his belt. And I think that's a really key thing for a lot of these fighters. So that's why I do like Drakkar Klose. It's not just the talent, it's also the intangibles as well.
Good opportunity for both these fighters. Split on the pick. Let us know down below in the comments section who you have. 13 fights on the card, 2 title fights up at the top. Nunes, Pena in the rematch. Moreno, Cara France in the rematch as well in the co-main. You're not going to want to miss. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks. And as we always say, let's get into it.